Hey, what's up? We love Burger King grilled dogs.
They're made with 100% beef, and they're 100%.
They're so good, they make us want to sing like...
I can't believe it. Burger King made a grilled dog. Made with 100% beef. Flame grilled anytime you want. You can try it in classic or chili cheese.
Flame grilled and made with 100% beef, starting at just $1.99. Get a grilled dog now at participating Burger King restaurants. Flame grilling hot dogs since 2016. Price and participation vary.
Blog Talk Radio.
What's going on, everybody? I was hoping that my intro music was going to start, but I guess maybe some technical difficulties associated with that. But that's kind of fitting since this podcast is dedicated to IT professionals. My name is Hezi McCaleb, and this show is Redesign Your Paradigm. This show is dedicated to helping IT professionals grow professionally and personally, helping them to take the leap in their career to kind of find more abundant careers, more fulfilling and purposeful careers, and then outside of their careers, helping them find purposeful lives and intentional lives. You know, I know a lot of times with IT folks, because of the nature of the work and the type of personalities that are typically associated with the work, you know, we're very logical people. We're focused on, you know, trying to finish a task or manage a project or, you know, develop a new application or tweak a new application or tweak existing systems, and we can get really, really wrapped up into it. So much so that it really tends to spill over into our lives outside of work. Some may say they don't have any life outside of work, where, you know, you're always thinking about the next thing or the existing thing that you're working on. So it's causing you some level of anxiety and maybe some stress. So you're kind of going through your day-to-day like that constantly, and you're saying to yourself, man, there's got to be more to it than this. But, hey, at the end of the day, you know, I got bills to pay. Some of you may have kids or other responsibilities that you got to take care of. That comes with being an adult. And so you just do what you got to do, kind of going through the motions. Well, this show, this podcast is all about changing up, going through the motions. That's why I decided to call it Redesign Your Paradigm, which, you know, paradigm is a set of patterns that kind of play over and over and over, and they become our, you know, some people describe it as self-fulfilling prophecy. Some people may describe it as, you know, fulfilling reality, because it's a constant pattern that's going on. So let me just talk a little bit about myself and who I am. I've been podcasting for many, many years. I've taken a little break, a few months since my last podcast. My first podcast was Barbershop Sports, and it focused on sports and pop culture. And, you know, I had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs with the guys talking about those topics. Then my next podcast was called The Filthy Dish, and that focused on pop culture specifically. And I had a lot of fun with the ladies doing that show. But right around the time I started doing The Filthy Dish, there was something inside of me that said, Hezi, there's something something else that you need to be doing. And at the time, I really couldn't put my finger on what it was until I ended up going to Podcast Movement, which is a conference dedicated to podcasters. Last year it was in Dallas, Texas. And while I was there in Dallas, Texas, I live in Orlando, Florida, by the way. While I was in Dallas, Texas last year, I started talking to someone about an idea about doing a professional development podcast. And the person that I was talking to was like, I'm glad you said that, because that's the energy that I was feeling coming off of you. And I was just like, wow, you know, I never met this person before. And it was just interesting how that all kind of transpired. So from that point, I kind of went on this, you know, I guess Indiana Jones type journey to kind of really find what I was looking for. You know, I wasn't necessarily trying to go to the Temple of Doom, but I was trying to find something that resonated with what was going on in my mind and in my heart. So I started looking up life coaching. You know, that has the that's in my mind at the time. I thought that was connected to professional development. And so I started attending an amazing life coaching school that I'm just kind of wrapped up the courses. The school's called IPEC for those that may be interested in life coaching. And it's not one of the number one schools in the world. It's an ICF, which stands for the International Coaching Federation. It's an ICF accredited school. And I learned so much about myself and so much about, you know, people through the coaching process. So that's kind of the journey that led me to doing this podcast. As far as the IT side of things go, I've been in IT for about 20 years. I started in 1996. I was a bench technician working on Packard Bell machines. I'm really dating myself by saying that, but I was working on Packard Bell machines, and from there I kind of grew into doing some network support. You know, and I'm talking about the old days of Token Ring, when Token Ring was around, when you had to choose between Token Ring or Ethernet when you were hooking up certain devices like routers and switches and things of that nature. And, you know, I tell you, I love technology. I love what it does. It's how it can connect people, how it makes things more, or it can make things more efficient, I should say. I've always loved that about technology. You know, I grew up with the internet. You know, I'm talking about from the early beginnings, and I'm not talking way back in DARPA days. All right, I'm not that old, but around the 14.4 days. And for those my IT folks out there, when I say 14.4, you know, I'm talking about modem baud rates, and remembering going to 28 K per second and then 56K. And I'm just like, wow, man, we're really cooking with gas. And just thinking of where we are from that point to now, and the rise of social media and you know, e-commerce and everything associated with the internet has really been an interesting journey. So now my thing is, I'm working now with former IT professionals to kind of really help them attain goals through the life coaching process. Now I really want to talk about what this podcast specifically is going to be about. This podcast, folks, is, like I said, if you're an IT professional, or if you know an IT professional that's, you know, just really, really, really wanting to take it to the next level, that's what this podcast is going to be about, essentially. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about stealth IT. For those that don't know, we'll really get into that. I'm also going to be talking about core energy levels. And really, you're going to really hear me talk about core energy levels quite a bit on this show, because that's what, you know, the way I was trained as far as a life coach, and how core energy levels relate to us as individuals in the decision-making process and how we see the world. So today I'm going to be talking about core energy levels 1, 2, and 3. There's 7 of them to be exact. And I'm going to be talking about how they interact with, you know, these shadow or these stealth IT scenarios. So let's just kind of get into it. What exactly is stealth IT? Now, depending on who you're talking to, it could be a number of things. For some, it can be end users who call themselves, quote unquote, in quote, power users, who take it upon themselves to install software maybe that they shouldn't install, tweak existing software, uninstall software maybe that they shouldn't install. Maybe they're hanging around the IT room all the time, bringing requests to you that have not been submitted via the ticketing system. Hey, John needs you to come down the hall and do this, X, Y, and Z. Susie needs you to come down and do X, Y, and Z. And if you don't respond fast enough, sometimes they go ahead and do it themselves or try to do it themselves, which a lot of times often brings lots of pain, lots of frustration to that IT professional. Because when you're dealing in an organization of a significant amount of people, all those ticketing, you have to have a system of organization. You have to have a good style of communication to really help you to manage everything that pops up on a day-to-day basis. And so when you have someone that's kind of rogue, think about Mission Impossible Rogue Nation was a bunch of, so-called dead agents that were still operating and causing mayhem around the world. Well, if you take that to the IT sense, you have some folks out there that are rogue, and they're not following organizational guidelines as far as what's been laid out for IT policies and security. If you work in companies where security is the order of the day, like financial companies, big data companies, you cannot afford to have those rogue agents running around making your life hell. Or maybe it's someone in the IT department that kind of takes it upon themselves to, do their own thing. Maybe it's a programmer that's, uploading data into a cloud source that's not approved by IT. So it can come from lots of different angles. But at the end of the day, it goes against what, the policies are. It can cause security risks. And at the end of the day, it can be a source of great frustration. So you heard me talk about the energy levels, core energy levels. And this situation, I said there's 7 of them. This kind of fluctuates between, I would say, the first 3 core energy levels. And the first one I'll talk about is level 1, which is referred to as a kind of like a victim energy. Basically, that's I kind of feel like I'm at the effect of whatever situation. I don't have power to change the situation. So it's kind of like a woe is me. I'm pretty sure some of you out there know that personality type, a person that's they're always complaining. They never seem to see the silver lining on the cloud. They just see the clouds all the time or a lot of the time. So you have that. And you can think of end users in that aspect. They have work they need to do. The software that they're trying to do it on, either they don't really understand how to use it, or the computer could be slow, or something may not be working right, preventing them from feeling like they can do their job. So then they start feeling that victim energy. So let's say that they are one of the good ones, one of the good end users. They submit a trouble ticket, but it's going into, a silo of trouble tickets that aren't really being managed properly. So you kind of have that person sitting in that victim energy. They start to panic, and maybe they can get into a frustrated stage. Now, once a person gets frustrated and angry because they can't do their work, that takes you into what would be the level 2 energy, which level 2 deals with frustration and anger and things of that nature, and defiance. And so when you're dealing with somebody that's feeling like a victim and that's frustrated, they can tend to do things to kind of try to find escape methods. So let's say that you got that super user. Oh, I'll do it. I'll take care of it. No problem. And I'm telling you, all the organizations that I've been in, folks, I've seen them all the time. They they install stuff, they put on Dropbox and upload files up there that's not approved. Yeah, it might be approved at home, but that's your personal stuff. And it caused all kinds of havoc and frustration. So really how you combat that is really, having a really good sense of communication, a sense of perspective of what the end user is dealing with, and how to best effectively work through your ticketing systems. If it's just you, if it's amongst your team, communicating with your managers on how to best effectively take care of these things. So working those types of methods, improving your communication methods, is really going to help you be more successful at dealing with that. Because ultimately, what happens is, in organizations, IT kind of gets devalued. So with that said, I have a guest that is waiting in the wings that I'm pretty sure has, thought about some of these shadow IT folks himself. He is a chief executive officer at New York Law School. He's a friend of mine. I've worked with him for many years as a colleague. Ted Hicks, welcome to Redesign Your Paradigm, my friend. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for the invite. And with you kicking this podcast off, I'm actually the first person.
Yes, yes, you are.
Very, very, very excited to be the first guest. So I will go down in history of this podcast when people 10 years from now talk to you on your TV show. Hey, who was the first guest you ever had on Redesign Your Paradigm? And you can put up my beautiful 8x11.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Well, you and me, we, just for the folks that are listening, me and Ted go way back, man. I'm saying probably around, I would say at least maybe 2006, 2007.
Yes, sir.
So we got a decade of connection in the game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And all different aspects about it. And that's the beautiful thing about IT. I won't bore anyone in regards to my overall journey. But it's been one where it's been a lot of fun, I will say the least. It's been a lot of fun. It's been to many different places, different organizations. Also, it goes well beyond, about the same amount of time, about 20 years, because I was unofficially doing IT for back before the Department of Education was renamed the Board of Education. So, and that was like just doing like Mac support, like desktop Mac support, and then flowing through. And want to give a big shout out to two people that were really influential in me moving over to IT from the education realm. Nick Murkison and Maurice Johnson, two people that I worked with and trained under and worked with at IBM. So it's kind of ebbs and flows, where I can say I kind of understand what you're talking about, because number one, I've been through it at the ground floor, picking up the phones, doing desktop support, working at call centers, on site, doing client site visits, being at academic facilities, financial institutions. So I've seen it all. And when you said shadow IT, or you say stealth IT, I automatically think shadow IT. And who is that? That's everyone that's not IT. That's not ordained to be IT. That deep in their heart, they want it to be IT at some point in their lives. So you see these rogue applications, and you see it a lot more. It's much more prevalent today with, the bring your own device. Hey, I want to put this on the network. I want this to talk. And you mentioned Dropbox. Cloud storage is a great topic. It's not the topic for tonight, but I'm going to say that person that has those administrative privileges, that connects that Dropbox or cloud storage software to that machine that's on your network, and then you hit with ransomware, on your network shares, and you're sitting there scratching your head because shadow IT, stealth IT, when there's an operational issue, they walk away.
Oh, yeah.
They walk away. They want to toss things over the fence. So you got to remember that. Like I said, we can go in depth on that, but I would say shadow IT is anyone that isn't IT, and you see it more and more today because IT is an expense, IT is a service, and nowadays your consumers are getting smarter. Some of them smarter than what they actually are, or what they believe they are, and it's great to have the newest, latest toy out there. But when you need to support it, or if you have rolled it out and it's unsanctioned, someone's going to want to know, hey, who do I call? Hey, I'm going to call Ted over there in the IT department. Well, hey, I don't know about this application. I'm not sure where you got it from. Maybe you need whoever you received it from, you should be calling them. So
exactly.
It becomes messy. It becomes messy because of these type of organizations that do open. There's times when they do it because they have the funding for it. I've seen an organization about 12 years ago support a content management suite, and they did it for a global institution, but they only provided support from 8 to 6. And I said to the organization, the shadow IT organization, so what happens at 6:01? Because if it's 6:01 here, what if a partner school on the West Coast is taking is using this application or using the suite? Then what? They don't have answers for that. So unfortunately, you're in a catch-22 because you have to keep your eyes on the supported software, and of course on the non-supported software, and of course mostly every piece of application or appliance that's being used at your organization. So it's tough, but I'm sure if you've been through the wars as we've been through them, you've seen it and you can deal with it. And the one good thing is with a lot of these appliances, it's what the user wants to do isn't too complicated, because they lack the specific training and everything else like that. So those are some things that I've seen and dealt with shadow IT. Outside of that, I look forward to a podcast like this because I used to be the type to work for 12 to 14 hours and then come home and want to build your computer and work on this and take extra side jobs and everything, and then the key piece is you have a family. You have a family, but if you're focusing on just the computers or the technology piece aspect of it, there needs to be that work-life balance, which is so important, which I know this podcast in the future is going to talk about, the work-life balance. So, hey, I'm doing this in this amount of time. Now I have to put on the other hat. So it's important to be able to also wind down from some of the stuff that you do because IT is very stressful. Time, stress, performance management, project management, all those aspects come into play. So but at a certain point, there needs to be that me time. There needs to be that family time. There needs to be that time to unwind. So like for me, I'll tell you quickly, what are the things I like to do outside of IT? Well, when I'm not in IT, hey, I love to blog. I love to write about, other things outside of technology. So family. I love to talk sports because you and I shared the mic a few years ago talking sports.
Yes,
I like to
absolutely.
do product reviews on some of the latest and greatest, like stuff like WWDC today. Apple's latest and greatest, their newest suite of tools that they're rolling out. I like to talk about stuff like that. So it's good to get out of that bubble, but I also think it's important when you're in IT to step outside of your bubble, see what goes on in the real world with your family, but also with other IT organizations. Regardless of the industry, IT is there and it's always going to be here, but it's going to morph, and we see that shift happening. So that's my take on it, Hez.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that that eloquent breakdown of your take on things. I thought that you made a really good point when it came to dealing with the stealth or shadow IT is a communication. Asking key questions. If the support ends at 6 o'clock and it's non-supported software, how are we going to support this after 6 o'clock? What's the plan for that? Really getting people's wheels turning and say, oh man, this is a blind spot we didn't see.
That's true.
And I'm really thinking, when you were talking about, everything that the IT guy lady has to deal with, supporting supported software, non-supporting supported software unofficially. It's kind of, I think about a clown riding a unicycle, juggling bowling pins.
Yes.
Yes. And
best thing about it, hey, I just want to jump in. Best thing about it, we just talked operations. We didn't talk strategic. So I just wanted to give you the operations perspective. Right.
So that's a good point. There's many different perspectives that you can apply what we're talking about to, because there's a management element to it as well. Stealth IT expands all through an organization. It's not just an end user. So yeah, there is absolutely a strategic piece to that as well. So it's really, folks, it's really about the perspective that you come to work with every day. The question is, how do you want to show up today? How am I going to attack this issue of stealth IT and not make people come across as being defensive? When I talked about that level 2 energy, that level 1 energy, the victim or the person that believes I win because I always win and you lose, that type of energy when you're dealing with that. How do you approach that in a professional manner where you can communicate your concerns in a professional way and still get your ideas out there? So, you're not feeling a victim of the situation. Because I know a lot of IT guys, man, that Ted, and I'm pretty sure some too, that take that work home with them, man. And they're sitting at the bar and they're knocking them back on Friday, man, trying to drink away.
Yes.
Monday
drink
through,
away the pain.
Yeah. And you mentioned a lot of things that you enjoy doing. From the blogging, you also, you didn't mention it, but I'll mention it. You have a podcast, a really cool, fun podcast called Late Night Parents that you do. So, I mean, you have some things. Obviously, I know you're a family man as well, and that's very important to you. So you found ways to have that work-life balance, but it didn't happen overnight. It was something that you had to work on. So that's something that I want everybody out there to appreciate. Is yes, there is going to be some work to achieve that work-life balance, to achieve that shift in perspective, or as this podcast is aptly named, redesigning your paradigm. But it's not impossible to achieve it, because as my guest here has shown you, is possible. He has things going on, and so you too can also find things. And if you're having things going on right now, but it's still not where you want it to be, you can get it where you really, really want it to be. So, just coming back to you, Ted. As far as the stuff that you got going on with the blogging and your podcast, how can people get a hold of you, man? How can they check out your podcast?
The podcast is we do a podcast on Blog Talk Radio on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. We have on weekends, on Saturdays, bi-weekly, we also do Late Night Parents Saturday afternoon on a local radio station up here on Long Island, 1240 AM WGBB. Either the podcast or the radio show, you can find it. It's always posted on the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Late Night Parents. Or you can find me on Twitter, Real Ted Hicks. Or you can. I also am under the Late Night Parent Twitter handle. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. How about LinkedIn and Microsoft? It's doing something great today. So you can look for me under Ted Hicks, one of the 30 that's listed on LinkedIn.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, my brother, I'm pretty sure you are the first, but I'm pretty sure this won't be the last time. I hope that you come through to the podcast, man. I really appreciate your time tonight, my man.
No problem, man. Anytime you need me, let me know. No notice is needed. I can jump on at a moment's notice, and I can sit here and talk till the end of time. But that's about it, brother. But thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely, man. I'll give you a round of applause, man. You take it easy. You too. So that was the great Ted Hicks. And once again, I would like to thank him for coming on the show and talking about his experience in IT and how he manages his work-life balance. So that was definitely very, very good information. So ending the show up, folks, a good question, I mentioned it already, is asking yourself, how do you want to show up today? I am a core energy life coach. You heard me kind of talking a little bit about the levels, a couple of the levels of energy around stealth IT in those scenarios. If you would like to hear a little bit more about how that works, you feel free to reach out to me at redesignyourparadigm@gmail.com. I'm also on social media as well. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter at genuinelyh5. I'm also on Facebook as well. The podcast is called Redesign Your Paradigm. So I appreciate if you would give us a like to show your support. But again, like I said, if you're interested in working with a coach to help you get to the next level, that is what I do. And I'm looking forward to working with anybody who's looking forward to working with me and brave enough to take the steps needed to take themselves to the next level. So I invite you to join me next week as we'll have another interesting guest on, and we'll be talking about another interesting topic. Stay tuned for what that topic will be. I'll be posting it on social media. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next Monday night.
Firing up the grill, having a picnic, going to a game, or the beach? Stop by Acme for juicier Lancaster brand meats for the grill. Fresher cut fruits and vegetables, tastier desserts from our bakery, and all of your snack needs. This week, get fresh store-packaged boneless, skinless chicken breast, just $1.99 a pound when you buy 3 pounds or more. And for something sweet, shop the Entenmann's full-line sale and get 50% off 5.5 to 26-ounce packages. At Acme, it's getting better every day.
Hey, it's Flo, and this is my impression of a drill instructor directing a musical.
10 hot! Get those tap heels in line and let me see those jazz hands! Are you bundling your home and auto insurance through Progressive? Can you hear me through those sequins?
Bundle your home and auto through Progressive and save.
Left, 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 and step ball change.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates. Home insurance provided and serviced by other select insurers.